real. Howdy, everyone. Thank you for showing up to this live stream, whether you're watching it like now or now, but later than now. Hope you're all having an amazing day. If you could all drop a like on the live stream, that just really helps it out, pushes out to more people. And, you know, the usual YouTuber spiel of if you don't do it, my channel dies.
Don't kill his channel.
Yeah. A couple of things to say before we get into it, just while we wait for people to join the live stream. If you guys are interested in any of my one-to-one services, if you want to work with me more directly, if you want me to create some affirmations for you, if you want, I don't even know what else I have to offer, Katie's tarot readings or anything like that, in my link tree is the link to my website. And subsequently, if you want to join the membership, which you can get for either £6 per month or £10 per month, and on those memberships are tons of exclusive videos, free worksheets, free routines, discounts on everything. The Manifest Your Ex Back full guide video, which is like an hour and 40 minutes long of just pure information that a lot of people have loved. If you want any of that stuff, by all means, go check out the link tree and you'll find there the link to my the membership link as well as the website link.
I have a video coming out on it soon.
Yeah, hopefully tomorrow. Actually, the next manifestation members only video will be Katie explaining her side of the experience of manifestation of our reconciliation. So if you're interested in seeing that, by all means, go check out the membership. But now we've got a few people jumping in, so I'm going to get into all the questions and comments and everything. So Sevilla says, really looking forward. Glad to hear it. Hopefully you meant looking forward to this and not just something else. Crimson Music says, howdy. Meg says, hi, howdy. Blessed Child says, hello, love from India. Howdy, love from the UK. AM or Am says, hello, what's up? Not a lot, really. It's been a busy day of emails, video recordings, running errands, shopping.
Yeah.
It's just been a busy day overall. But
got a birthday tomorrow, so we have to do all the last minute birthday things.
Yeah, exactly. But overall, can't complain. What's up with you? Nicole J says, yay. I always tend to miss your lives. Well, I'm glad to see that you're here today. Thank you for showing up. Victory 3002 said, oh, you've taken out play at the end of your name. Says, hi, everyone. Howdy, Victory. Lisa Watt says, hello. Howdy. Lewis says, big hello, guys. Recently manifested my SP back. Not the way I want, so I've switched over to self-concept, and now I really feel the wish fulfilled and don't react to 3D at all. I am not just riding the wave. I'm glad to hear it. Self-concept is extremely important in terms of anything, not just a specific person manifestation, but anything that you may be manifesting. So I'm glad to hear that by switching over to it, you're finding yourself doing better in your journey. Keep it up. Aiden Bishop Music says, howdy, Matt. How's everything going with you and your band? So me and my band, things are going well. But what has happened and what seems to be quite a recurring pattern is upon practice, because we've been working at this EP for like 2.5 years now, which is way too long to be working on an EP. There's reasons for it, but whatever. But within that time, that is a long time for someone to improve at what they're doing. So what happens is we had most of the songs pretty much done in a vocal style. Through boredom and wanting to get better, I started to practice different vocal styles. They hear it and they go, oh, now we want some of that. So now we're going back all over the songs to do the new vocal style in some of the parts, which is just making it take longer. So while the band is making better and better music, at this fucking rate, no one's going to hear it. It's been so long. And yeah, it's one of those things that it's just like, it is what it is. I just show up and enjoy myself. But it's definitely one of those things where I'm just like with it a little bit now. But other than that, can't really complain. Thank you for asking. Adam Dar says, hello, love from Ohio, love from the UK. Thank you for being here. What rusts my crank says, Katie, who broke up with who? I'm looking for proof that I can do this.
I broke up with Matthew.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the short answer of it. We didn't have like a great sort of relationship at that time. It was a little bit rocky, a little bit uncomfortable, and things were going wrong and stuff like that. And then, yeah, I broke up with Matthew, and then he manifested me back because I'm the best.
Rev T says, howdy. Love the scrunchy, Katie.
Oh, thanks. That's just a plain black one.
I was looking in your hair, like I'm pretty sure it's all flat. But thanks for being here, Rev T. Lisa Watt says, I've manifested a relationship with my SP for the final time. Self-concept is everything. What can we affirm in order to move in together? Both self-concept and other affirmations. So if you want to specify the moving in together from a specific person perspective, you'll obviously want to be focusing on that. For example, an affirmation could be, I'm so happy to live with insert SP's name, or being able to wake up next to SP every day because we live together feels amazing, or something like that. From a self-concept perspective, I suppose the thing that you would want to work on, or that you could work on, would be asking yourself, why wouldn't you be able to move in together, and see if there's any kind of reasons that you feel that you can't have it. As not necessarily because you're not, like, because you're looking at the 3D saying it's not happening yet, or they've said this, but why you feel like you can't have it, and see if there's any self-concept issues there. If you find that there is, then you can work on it from that perspective. But self-concept to move in together is something that I suppose you'd have to figure out why you feel like you can't. I don't think there's a particularly, I suppose you could go with, I'm more than good enough to be living with SP. That's probably a sort of self-concept / SP hybrid affirmation. But yeah, look into why you feel like you can't have it. What's going on internally about you that stops it, and see if you can shift that. H says, hey, howdy, howdy, H. Geneva says, hi, you too. Howdy, howdy, Geneva. Glad to have you here. Rev T says, Matty, I'm trying to remain in no contact with SP while manifesting him. It's his birthday next week. Should I wish him? Is there any more, or is it just that? So I actually have this opinion, or this view, that birthdays don't really matter in general, not even just manifestation, but I just think birthdays are just whatever. I find that a lot of people use birthday as a reason to message, mostly due to fear. I.e., if I don't message, they're going to be angry at me because it's my birthday, or they use it as some excuse that they think is inspired action, but is more just, again, them being in that state of, I need to do this. I need to make this move, otherwise things won't happen. I personally think that if it was me in your situation, I wouldn't bother. A birthday is just another day. But it's up to you. Only you know the dynamic between you. Only you know kind of where you've been sitting in, like, internally, and only you know whether or not it's going to be the good thing for you. But I don't see the point. I don't see birthdays being a thing to break no contact, or to sort of break your manifestation, distancing, or whatever it is that you're trying to do. But again, it's personal preference. Some people absolutely love it. Some people, like me, don't care for birthdays. So do what you feel is best for you. Arhan, apologies if I said that wrong. Oh, I skipped. Says, Matt, you're officially my favorite law of assumption coach. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the kind words. Amy says, hi, how to believe whatever I'm doing is working. Each passing day makes me feel hopeless that this is hopeless that it's working in my favor. How to believe that there is no 3P and my SP is missing me. To be continued. So what else did you say further down? Oh, it skipped again. Oh, I'm assuming so far you haven't managed to get your continuation. I'll answer that for now. So it's funny because you're asking how to believe that what you're doing is working, but by the subsequent thing that you said after, which is each passing day makes me feel hopeless, you're doing the complete opposite. You're allowing yourself to be dictated by what's going on in the 3D more than your internal. So you don't necessarily need to believe that what you're doing is working. You just need to believe enough in yourself and the process of manifestation enough to continue anyway. It doesn't matter whether or not it's working if you're allowing yourself to be affected day by day by the fact that it's not working evidently in front of you. Your manifestation is supposed to be you already being in the state of having it right now and residing in that to make it come. Therefore, belief isn't even necessarily a factor, because you're supposed to be showing your subconscious mind is already here. If you need belief that what you're doing is working, you're already putting yourself outside of having it, because belief that it's working says, I don't have it right now and I need something to keep me going. So from that perspective, I would honestly say let go of belief just entirely as a concept of that what you're doing is working. Believe in manifestation enough to continue doing it. But I would honestly say reside more in discipline and consistency to keep going regardless of what is in front of you. If you rely on belief, relying on belief is very similar to relying on motivation. And belief and motivation I find are very fleeting. And especially when manifestation requires consistency and persistence, belief and motivation are completely useless tools in this factor. You would want to have discipline and consistency to keep doing the stuff day after day, regardless of what's showing up in front of you. As for what you said about how to believe that there is no third party and my SP is missing me so much, you know that your reality is created by your thoughts. So you know that if you're residing in that, that will become true. Same thing for third person. If you remove your attention from third person and place it on the state of you being with your person, by being consistent and persistent in that, you're creating that for yourself. And nothing can deny that, because your thoughts create your reality. Your awareness creates your reality. So based on all of that, what I would say is the question or the answer should be, instead of how to believe whatever I'm doing is working, it should be more, how can I stay more consistent and disciplined to make sure that it's working? And then subsequently underneath that, how to believe that there is no third person and my SP is missing me should be, how can I stay consistent and disciplined in reminding myself there's no third person and my specific person is missing me? When you look at it from that perspective, and if you're able to reside in those questions and the answers of those questions, which is structuring, routine, mental diet, all of those kinds of things, then you'll have much more success because you're relying on consistency and discipline to do what is necessary, as opposed to belief and motivation to try to do what's necessary when you feel like it. Hopefully that helps.
I just want to add something, because it's one thing that I notice quite a lot is that people want to be missed by their person. And although I do definitely understand that, like when we were in separation and I was thinking about Matthew and stuff, it was like, oh, I hope that he's missing me. I hope he's, doing, like, thinking about me and stuff like that. But I think missing me is something that should be entirely removed from manifesting a person, because yes, in theory, they may miss you whilst at work, or they might miss you if you go out for a few hours. But generally speaking, like, you don't miss the person that you're with unless you're thinking about them. So if you were just, affirming that they were thinking about you and they're thinking about you all the time and stuff like that, you're not creating that they're missing me because we're not together. They're just thinking about you. So I think, yeah, the idea of like wanting to be missed by someone, although I definitely understand it, I don't think it's something that you should be focusing too much energy on. I think you should be more focusing on that he loves you and that he's thinking about you, and that when he's apart, he thinks about you all the time, and those kind of like much more positive things, because in order for him to be missing you constantly, it means you're not near him constantly.
H says, man, I'm getting attention from other chicks, but my SP crickets. So first off, I'm glad to hear that you're getting attention from other chicks. It obviously clearly shows you're doing something right up here. But second thing, I would say, there's no point in referencing lack of contact from a specific person, because it's just reaffirming it to yourself. I would have just left it, if it was me personally, I would have just left it at, like, man, I'm getting attention from other chicks, or a load of chicks, or something like that, and just left it at that. Try to, even though I understand that you want your specific person, whenever something positive is happening, try to frame it only as the positive, instead of sort of giving it with a double-edged sword of like, yeah, this is great, but anytime you say that but, you're just basically pissing all over the positive, because you're focusing on you're ending the sentence in a negative, which is just reaffirming to you that the negative is more empowering than the positive. So I'm glad you're having some movement with other areas, because that shows you're clearly doing something right. But try not to focus on the negatives in those situations. Just let it be a positive and stay doing the work. Kappa says, been watching your videos since I discovered you a couple of weeks ago. Well, I'm glad you stayed consistent with it. Hopefully I've given you some new perspectives and helped you out on your journey. Geneva says, what's in your and Katie's opinion are the best self-concept affirmations in general? So for me personally, I think one of the best self-concept affirmations is a revision future-based affirmation, which I've kind of given to a few of my clients, which is, I always have been and I always will be more than good enough exactly as I am. I feel like it revises any previous history. It sort of gives you that reassurance for the future, covers the idea of maybe not necessarily being good enough. And by saying exactly as I am, it kind of puts you in that position of, I don't need to change. And therefore anything that you do is all a choice as opposed to needing. How about you?
That one is a really good one, for definite. I like a kind of general worthiness kind of affirmation, but also oh no, I've forgotten what it was. I have a really nice one that I like, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. What was it? Oh,
I can answer the next one if you think about it. I'll come back to it.
I'll come back.
AM says, when is the next live? I might not be able to follow the whole live now, as it's quite late here. So at the moment, we're doing lives every other week due to sort of some personal stuff that we will announce soon. We're just kind of keeping it, as many of you all know, I don't like to tell stuff before it's kind of come to fruition. But yeah, so we've got some personal things that are kind of making it so that it's quite difficult to be consistent with weekly live streams. So we're doing them every other week for the sort of foreseeable future, anywhere between sort of 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. UK time. But we will generally put up a post or like the schedule the videos that you guys can see that it's going live. But the next one probably isn't for another 2 weeks, but you will obviously be able to see the full length of this video tomorrow or whenever you go back onto YouTube, because the live streams get posted. So hopefully that answers.
And most of the time it's a Saturday.
Oh yeah,
more,
most of the time
more
Saturday.
often than not. And my affirmation is to do with respect. I think that respect is something that lots of people have experienced lacking. So if you say I still can't remember like the actual one, but I am more than worthy of the respect of everybody around me. I think that that's a really big important one, because a lot of the time people have experienced a lack of respect, and that sticks with you for a very, very long time. Even if it's somebody laughing at you when you're a child, it still sticks. Like, that person had absolutely no respect for me. Like, my words are worth nothing now, sort of thing. Like, it just builds when you have a lack of respect. So I think, yeah, respect is a big one.
Yeah, absolutely. Aidan Bishop Music says, "You'll get there, man. I believe in you." Thank you very much. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll play Glastonbury with our band. Hopefully, that'd be cool. I can't wait till you. Huh?
I said, do you want me to read?
No, I'm okay. I can't wait till you get this EP out. Have you considered releasing a single? So I have. Well, my band hasn't. So essentially, what the situation of my band is there's a couple of friends that have been working on music for many years. They're guitarists, they do the instrumentals and stuff like that. There is a drummer in the scene somewhere, but I haven't really had any interaction with him, just because all of that stuff's already kind of mapped out and there's been no involvement. But they're perfectionists, for want of a better term. Now, me being a life coach, I look at it and I'm 99% sure that they're perfectionists because they're scared of failure. They're scared that if they don't put out the perfect thing, it's going to negatively reflect on them. And that's my view on it based on the sort of interactions. Upon that factor, they are also, the best way that I can describe it without sounding mean is they come across like they know everything about music, as in like the industry itself. So they like, when there was like this idea of releasing a single, they were like, no, because if we do that, then people might like it, and then they'll be screaming for more. And then by the time it comes around to it, they won't. There will be no interest. Yada yada yada. Whether or not that's true, I don't know, because I know nothing really about the music industry. But so that when the idea was toyed around, that was basically the reasoning why we couldn't. It's like, if we release one thing and then don't get something else released out within a reasonable time scale, then the whole thing is going to fall apart. So they would rather wait longer and then release like 5 things all at once, essentially, with the EP. So that's kind of like the way it's going. We're going about it at this current moment in time. We do have singles done that we could release, but they just don't want to do it. And I think the reason being is for the above section I said, which is what I think they're like, kind of that perfectionist, because they're kind of concerned that if it's not perfect, then it's not going to be enjoyed, and then failure sort of thing. But hopefully something will be out soon. Like, we want to finish the EP by the end of the year, because it's taken way too long to get to where we are now. So yeah. Bless Charles says, what to do when you're getting some visuals of your specific person in your mind with another person, and then you're afraid of those visuals. In that scenario, what do we need to do? What is your opinion? So not really do anything. There's no reason to be scared of it. I can understand, obviously, when you hear everywhere that your thoughts create and yada yada yada, where you put your focus and stuff like that. But all you need to remember is it's your dominant state that manifests. So if you do a visualization and then all of a sudden your mind goes to the idea of them being with someone else, it sucks, admittedly. But if you just remove your awareness from that and put it back on the visualization of you with your person, you're going to be canceling it out, for want of a better term. You don't need to scrutinize every single thought that comes constantly. Obviously, yes, the more that you catch, the better, and the sort of sooner you move off of negative thoughts, the better. But it's not like if you have one thought, then that's it, you've screwed up the whole process, because it's a dominant state that manifests. As humans, we cannot possibly expect to be perfect. Even now, like, Katie and I have a pretty solid relationship, but there will be that odd time when I think, well, she hasn't messaged in a while, hope everything's all right, or, what's she doing, kind of thing. Not to any kind of degree, but there's kind of just random thoughts that come up. I'm like, oh, it's been a while. So it happens to the best of us. But what matters most is where you dominantly reside. So if you have these visualizations and then it goes to that area, just bring it back. Just put yourself back to the image of being with your person, and it will essentially cancel it out. But the more that you fear the outcome, or the more that you focus on it, thinking like, oh shit, what have I done? The more you're just adding essentially power and awareness to that thought, and actually therefore creating more of a possibility for it to come to fruition. So anytime there's anything negative, whether it's thoughts, circumstances, or whatever, do your best to just remove your awareness and put it onto something you would rather experience instead as soon as you can, because then you're just going to be recreating what you do want as opposed to recreating what you don't want. But if it's something like minor, like your mind going to the wrong place, just bring it back. There's no point fearing it. You're still the operant power. It's a dominant state that manifests, not a perfect one. So just do what you can to bring it back and don't overthink it.
Ground yourself, like before the spiral.
Yeah.
Just take a minute, because everybody has thoughts pop into their head that are less than desirable, and the most important thing is to not let it spiral into that fear and that panic and that, oh my god, now that I've created that, if you're going down the spiral, it just gets worse and worse, and you have more and more of your thoughts heading towards that negative thing. So just take a few minutes to just ground yourself entirely, take your thoughts completely away from the situation if it's too much to think about it, and then put them back onto it once you've calmed down and you feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. Arhan says, I want to manifest becoming best friends with 2 SPs. Do you recommend I affirm for each SP separately or affirm for them together in the same affirmation sentences? Well, you may as well do both. Like, there's nothing to stop you from doing both if you would like to do both. It depends really on what you said obviously that you want to be friends with the 2 SPs and didn't really state what kind of where you want to take it. So if it's just friends, then you can do both, and it doesn't really matter if you're happy to be friends with one of them more than the other, or if you're happy to it to be equal. Just trial and error a bit of both affirmations and see what one resonates more with what your actual outcome is.
I like to club all of mine together, like everything I'm working on, into like one big visualization. So like, if that's easier for you, like it's personally easier for me, just visualize you spending time with both of them at the same time, or
They mention affirmations a lot, so I think they're focusing on affirmation.
But yeah, just affirm for it all in one go. That works just as well. Like, people seem to think that you have to have 10 for this, 10 for that, 10 for this, but you really don't. You can just go, everything in my life is exactly how I want it to be, and then just list it all off. Like, it doesn't have to be divided and all my attention on this one thing for a little bit, all of my attention on this thing for a little bit. You can just put it all on one. That is easier with visualizations, though, I find personally, because you can just literally visualize a scene that has everything that you possibly want in it. You could get in your dream car, go to your dream house, pick up your baby, do this amazing job all in one sort of scene. So it's easier that way, but it does also work with affirmations. So I rambled then for a bit, but yeah.
The next person, I'm not sure entirely what the name is because I don't believe I believe it's a different language, but then the next person says, is time travel possible? It depends on what you believe in. I believe it is, not through manifestation. I just believe that the way that this universe is constructed, I think time travel is possible. The reason I believe that is because we know that the sort of closer you are to a stronger gravity source, the more that time will be affected compared to the further away you are. We know there's particles that don't even experience time at all. For example, if you're a sort of planet far enough away, you were to look at Earth through an extremely strong telescope, you'll be able to see the dinosaurs, for example. All of this kind of shows that time is very malleable, and they still don't know what happens inside of a black hole. And I believe that all of these kind of things could make it so that time travel in itself is possible. Now, this is just me sort of fantasy thinking as opposed to knowing whether or not it is. So I wouldn't take what I said with a pinch of salt. But from an overall perspective, I believe, yes, that there is the possibility of time travel. I don't necessarily think it's a case of creating a machine that will time travel you by any means. But I think that like something to do with black holes could potentially have some kind of time travel essences because of the way that it like affects time. But from a manifestation perspective, I don't know. Like, it's not really my I'm not sure. Crimson Music says, how necessary would you say being able to vividly hear people's voices in your inner conversation is? I feel like I get caught up on trying to perfect stupid shit like that. That probably doesn't matter. I think it doesn't really matter as long as you kind of know what that inner conversation is to do with. If you know that it's you talking to a specific person about something, whether or not you can hear their voice that clearly, I don't think it makes a difference because you're still going to know the story. You're still in the knowing of I'm talking to SP about this thing, and therefore your subconscious mind should have no issue picking it up. Obviously, the better you can get it, the easier it'll be for you to reside in it. But I don't think it's a case of, oh, that wasn't 100% their voice, therefore you're not going to manifest it because I don't understand what you're talking about. You know what it is. And if it's your mind talking to your mind saying, push this out, then you, as long as you know it, then it should be more than enough.
I personally cannot in any way imagine someone's voice. I never, ever, like, no matter how hard I try, if I'm imagining somebody talking to me, it is always just my voice or just the entire, like, different voice. I can never ever get somebody's voice right, and I have had lots of success. So for me, it doesn't matter, and I don't think it would matter having whether it's their voice or your voice or a different voice. Sometimes as well, my visualizations have different faces in them because my brain just goes, oh, this person, and I know that I'm thinking about that person, but they just have an entirely different face, an entirely different voice, and they just say what I want to hear, but it still does work. So I think it's not something that has to be completely perfect all the time. But yeah, I think stop worrying about it, and yeah.
Just get the work done, really. It's like
Yeah,
the best thing that I could say. What rusts my crank says, so she broke up with me. I lost myself due to stress. I wasn't sharing. I know, and the proof is all there. We are soulmates. She blocked me out of all my social media. We share many friends. Can I get her back? Absolutely. Your reality follows your awareness. Your reality follows what you'll dominantly reside in. So if you want someone back, if you want anything really, you change your thinking to match that of if you already had it. If you're able to think as though you have it, you're able to get it back. So just remember that and try to reside within that state as dominantly as you can, and it will begin to piece together. Amy says, I really wish he never got into a relationship after me because he misses me all the time. But my brain could not accept this because he broke up due to a third person. Also, this is my last try. I really want it to work. Okay, if it's your last try and you really want it to work, then I would highly recommend you commit yourself wholeheartedly toward it having worked. So drop the whole I want him to miss me. Drop the whole there's a third party. Drop all of that, because all that's doing is keeping you exactly where you are. Instead, get clear on what you want. Him, you, amazing relationship, commitment, joy, fulfillment, whatever it is. Get clear on that relationship. And then get clear on if it was true, how would you think, feel, and act? For example, if you were in this, let's say the next live stream we have, it's worked for you, how would you be typing your messages then? Think of that kind of stuff. Remind yourself of that, reside within that, and commit to it as wholeheartedly as you can. Because if you really want it to work, so much so that you're on the verge of giving up, then it doesn't benefit you to half-ass it. It doesn't benefit you to, I can't control my mind. Everyone can control their mind. It's just people are too lazy to do it, or people are too addicted to the negative thoughts to actually do it. So if this is your last try, really commit to it, so much so that you can't even think of a potential excuse, because you're going to overcome it and see where it ends up, because it does work and it will work when you do the right things. Adam Dar says, old story. I manifested my wife back, manifested a poor outcome, have been on and off for a while, manifested no contact, so self-concept now to manifest permanent marriage and financial abundance. Any pointers? Yeah, get clear on why you feel like you can't have these things, or why you feel like you've struggled up to this point to have the things that you want them to be in regards to yourself. If it's self-concept that you want to work on, because you say self-concept to manifest permanent marriage and financial abundance, understand what is going on internally about you that is stopping you from receiving these things. So 3 questions that is really good to sort of start with is, why not me? Why can't I have this thing? What is it about me that's holding this thing away, or these things away? The second thing, what are my views on insert topic? So in this case, it could be women in relationships, or it could be money and career, or whatever the topic is. What do you view on it? For example, people might have beliefs of women are gold diggers, or men are fuckboys, or when it comes to career, it could be I have to work hard just to get noticed, or stuff like that. What are your beliefs in regards to the topic? And then the third question is, what does the other person think about me? Now, the reason why that's important, even with self-concept, is because everyone is us pushed out, which means they think of us what we assume they're going to think of us. Now, it's more likely that they're thinking of us certain things because we assume it about ourselves. Maybe not so much on the forefront, but if we look at someone and think, oh, they probably think I'm a dork, it's because deep down you think that they're either cooler than you or you're a dork, and that's why. So ask yourself those 3 questions, and that will give you a very strong blueprint in front of you about where you need to improve your self-concept, and that should make a big difference for you. Arhan says, by the way, I'm Tiger Claws. If you remember, I just changed my username. I did guess that you were because it's the same icon, but I didn't want to say it just in case I made myself look stupid. You're right, Cat? Cool.
You might have said no then.
Yeah, maybe not. Manasmita, apologies if I said that wrong, said, can I affirm in my mother tongue rather than in English? Absolutely. I recommend affirming whatever you can stay consistent with and whatever is more comfortable for you. Rev T says, you are right. Deep down, I know I'm using his birthday as an excuse to talk to him. I'd rather take myself out for a lovely lunch. Thank you. You're very welcome. And I highly recommend you do that. And by putting yourself first, you never know. He might message you saying, oh, I had a lovely birthday, but it's unfortunate you weren't there for it. And then all of a sudden the tides are flipped. So you never know what might happen. But I do recommend never operating through a case of fear or trying to force anything because it's never really going to go the way that you want it to. Aidan Bishop Music says, also, thank you for the recent videos. They're gold mines of information. Any tips on discipline in general? First off, thank you very much for the kind words. Are you all right, mate?
Come here.
Thank you very much for the kind words. Any tips on discipline in general? I think discipline is something that can be learned because obviously it's you kind of, but it's a habit, for want of a better term. There's an experiment, and I can't remember the exact details of the experiment, so please don't quote me on this. I recommend you research it yourself, and this goes for everyone. But there was an experiment done where they basically put a bunch of rats inside a cage, and there was a treat to the right of it, so they went forward and right, and there was something else to the forward and left. And what would happen is they would study the rats' brains, and the more that they went toward, I think it was like shock. I think if they went to the left, they got shocked or something like that. And eventually, upon doing it, what they found out was that the rats, as soon as like they got put in the cage, would just immediately go to the treat. And what happened when they did this was their brain activity essentially lessened, because obviously the less you're using your brain, the less you're doing things, essentially the more energy you're conserving. And they found that once it became a habit to do something, their brain would shut down and they would just kind of automatically go and do it without really a second thought. And they would actually be using less energy doing so because the brain activity wasn't going on. Because apparently brain activity actually consumes quite a lot of energy. The reason why this is important, because we do it all the same time as well. Like when you're driving, you may find yourself like you kind of zone out and then you're just able to get where you need to go without even really thinking it. Same thing happens to us there. The reason why that's important is because this is nothing more than a habit that essentially becomes so natural to you that your brain will quite literally shut down while you do it, or quite literally zone out while you do it. So when it comes to discipline, what I recommend doing is, at least to begin with, whenever it is that you're trying to do something new, have something that gets you doing it, whether it's timers that go off on your phone, whether it's like, one thing that I've heard people do is they'll bet their friend like £1,000 that if they don't stay consistent with this thing by next year or whatever, then they owe them £1,000. And that's usually quite a good sort of mental kicker. But get something in place to hold you accountable that isn't just you, to build up that habitual side of your brain that kind of just gets up and does it without a second thought. So much so that then that will start to happen. So if you're trying to be disciplined and you're trying to start a new morning routine, have something in place that maybe for the first 21 days or whatever, you're being like basically kicked in the ass to get it done. And it'll get to a point where it's become such a habit that you'll get up and naturally do it without even second thinking it. And then that's when it's going to become more habitual. And that's when the discipline turns more into just a habit that you get on with. And that's how I recommend staying disciplined with things, because I think, especially at the beginning of trying to be disciplined, it's very easy to say, oh yeah, I'll just get up early tomorrow, and tomorrow comes and it's so hard to fight yourself. And I think if you're the only thing holding yourself accountable, or if you're the only thing trying to fight yourself to make yourself do things, it's a lot harder to stay committed to it. So I recommend, for discipline, get something in place that's going to kick your ass into gear until it becomes a habit, and just rinse and repeat with any given thing. Itachi says, hi, howdy. Mina says, hello, I've been manifesting my SP for a few months. This week I got asked out on a date and thought it was birds before land. Now I am down because he rejected me. Did he kind of make space for SP? Hello, I've been manifesting my SP for a few months. This week I got asked out on a date and thought it was birds before land. Now I am down because he rejected me. Did he kind of make space for a specific person?
Oh, was this a separate person? So a separate person asked you out on a date?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense now.
Well, I believe so, based on what they said. Okay, so a little bit unsure about what you're meaning, as in, did he make space for SP at the end? But someone else asking you out could quite could be birds before land. It could be the evidence of your subconscious mind hearing you. Could be evidence of your improved self-concept if you've been working on self-concept. There could be a number of variables as to why someone else might ask you out and not your specific person. However, the thing that interests me there is that you said that you thought it was birds before land, and now you're down because he rejected me. Do you mean the person reject you, or did you mean your specific person reject you? Oh, I think it makes sense. Okay, so I'm guessing that they're saying that manifest an SP, someone else asked them out, then that other person rejected them, and then that's made
As in,
space for the specific person.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's that sort of pieced together, I cannot say for sure because I've not been in your head to sort of see where your journey is, what you've been kind of focusing on, stuff like that. However, what I can say is that your reality does follow your awareness. It follows your thoughts. It follows what you assume to be true. So if you're making that assumption of, oh, he rejected me because he's making space for my specific person to come in, that's going to benefit you more so than if you were to sort of reside in this from a negative standpoint of, oh, why am I always rejected? Why am I always this? Why am I always that? So I would recommend seeing it in that way if that makes you feel better about the whole situation. But if we've kind of misunderstood what you meant by your comment, please just comment down below and we'll have a look. Itachi says, my girlfriend and I broke up 8 months ago. I had manifested her back and we broke up again because she thought she was not putting herself first. What should I do now? I love her. Same thing you did before, but maybe shift around some of your thoughts and sort of assumptions that may have negatively caused this. Take a look into what you may have been dominantly residing in, which could have created this, and see if there's anything that you could potentially switch around. Work on your self-concept, I would recommend. If she's saying that she wasn't putting herself first, maybe you were causing some issues on your side of things where she felt like she was having to set herself aside to console you or to benefit you. Just throwing out some suggestions here. Obviously, I don't know the situation. But yeah, if you managed to manifest it back the first time, then you clearly know how to manifest it back. So what I'd recommend is doing the same things you did the first time, but making a few little minor tweaks that could have potentially created this negative outcome, or maybe made it so it didn't quite manifest to the full extent that you would have wanted it to.
And also continue to stay consistent afterwards. I think a lot of people get what they want, and then go, oh no, what if it leaves again? And then that's where their thoughts sort of lie for the next however long, which then creates them leaving again. Or, it works with anything really. Like, you showing the cat. That's Steph. He's the big fat ginger boy. But yeah, like I was saying, I don't know what I was saying actually.
Sorry.
But it's all right. But yeah, just make sure that once you've received the thing that you have manifested and it's there, you don't start to panic and freak out that it's going to go again, because then it will go again. Just keep your thoughts on like good tracks, keep up with visualizing fun dates, keep up with, like just good self-concept and everything like that. And just don't let yourself go, oh, now that I have this, what if it goes? Because then you're thinking in the wrong place again.
Yeah. Victory 3002 says, could you provide some tips on revision, how to easily and fast revise bad outcomes? So the first thing that I would recommend you do is consider whether or not you actually want to revise the outcome or just go forward in a more beneficial way. And what I mean by that is, do you want to change the outcome or just kind of go, okay, it is what it is. I know that I can address it going forward and address it going forward. If you do definitely want to revise things, if you want to go the visualization route, what I recommend is just getting clear on the event that you want to revise and kind of get clear on how you wished it had gone and then visualize that outcome. If it's affirmations you want to use, what I recommend is getting an understanding of what the event meant to you. For example, if someone left you and you want to revise that event, you could either revise the idea that people leave and you can revise it to say, I always have people sticking around in my life. Or if what it made you feel was, I don't feel good enough because they left, you could say something along the lines of, I've always felt good enough, which is going to kind of reinstate the idea that that event couldn't have played out to make you feel that way. But in very short essences, revision is just the case of going, this is what happened. This is what I would have rather had happened instead. And you focus as if the thing you would have rather had happened. So if it was a breakup, you'll find that you're still together and happier than ever. If it was a bad grade on your test, you revise it, you got the most amazing grade on your test or something like that. It's literally just taking what you didn't want to be true and turning it into what you did want. And that is just the essences of revision. Sweth says, hello, howdy. I've been leaving affirmations about SP post, which I couldn't see. Hang on. I've been looping affirmations about an SP post, which I couldn't see. I still didn't see what that post is, but kept affirming. But SP went totally silent when I was texting him. Please tell me what to do, bro. I've been leaping affirmations about an SP post, which I couldn't see. I still didn't see what the post is, but I kept affirming. But SP went totally silent when I was texting him. Okay, so the post, based on how I'm reading your message, I feel like the post is probably quite an irrelevant factor and you're focusing too much on something negative, and that's obviously creating more negativity for you. What I recommend, because you said tell me what to do, I recommend getting clear on what you actually want. Fuck the post for now. Like, whatever it is that you actually want in the longer grand scheme of things. What's the outcome that you're desiring to have here, regardless and independent of that post? What happens quite often is people get caught up on these little mini 3D things that really don't matter and then hold themselves in place too long. So get clear on that. And then once you get clear on it, that should be your main focus. Affirm, visualize, script, think, act as if, whatever it is that you need to do of that. So if it's a relationship, for example, affirm that you're in a loving relationship, visualize this loving relationship, act as if internally that you're in this loving relationship. And anything that takes you out of that state, bin it off. The only reason that they're probably being silent right now is due to this focus, because I believe I've seen you comment about this post in the past as well, is due to this post and due to how you've been trying to navigate through this 3D circumstance by changing this 3D circumstance as opposed to residing in the end result where it's already changed, if that makes sense. You're trying to manipulate the 3D as opposed to residing in what you want to be true. So what I'd recommend is just getting clear on your deep end result and then reside in that and allow anything that's going on in front of you that you don't want to be true to shift away, making room for what you desire to be true to actually become true. Manifesting Goddess says, one, my SP did something shitty, but I reached out to him so many times. Now we talk casually, but he acts like nothing happened. I was affirmed to recreate him, but whenever I reach out, he acts how to Oh, is there more that I've missed? You've got a second message down here, but is there? All right, I'll just go from there. Okay, so one, my SP did something shitty, but I reached out to him so many times. Now we talk casually, but he acts like nothing happened. I was affirmed to recreate him, but whenever I reach out, he acts. I'm assuming that's just going to say acts the same, maybe. And then down here you say two, how to manifest multiple SPs. Okay, so I'm assuming they're just two different things. That first part that you said there doesn't really give me anything to work with. There's more of a statement as opposed to a question. So if that first point has a question to be made, then by all means let me know. But I'm just going to go and move on to the next one because I believe the next one it does have questions, whereas that one just seems like a statement. Two, how to manifest multiple SPs. I've been a pushover for a long time. I'm affirming self-concept for 11 months, no changes in the 3D yet, but I want to manifest healing relationship with different people without being used by them again. Because whenever I apologize after they treat me badly, their behavior gets worse. So this time I don't want to approach neither being used. Basically, I want people to value me. Okay, well, self-concept work is extremely important for building up that side of yourself. You mentioned there that you apologize when they treat you badly, which is the biggest sign of a low self-concept, because you're basically saying you can treat me poorly and I'll be the one to try and fix it. So what I would recommend doing is working on yourself as you've been doing to shift this side of yourself, whatever it is that makes you feel like you've let people walk all over you previously and use you previously, and B, the side of you that is allowing them to do so without walking away, without setting boundaries, without standing up for yourself, so to speak. Work on that element of yourself. And you also mentioned you've been working on it for 11 months and you've had no movement in the 3D or no changes in the 3D yet. This shows that you're changing your self-concept in order to get a certain outcome. I would recommend working on self-concept from the perspective of I'm doing this for me. I want to become a better person. I'm going to shift who I am, and then allow yourself to shift internally based on the work that you're doing instead of using the external to validate and prove those shifts to be true. And then when it comes to manifesting multiple SPs, if you haven't got a specific person or specific people in mind and you just kind of want a relationship in which you're treated nicely, so to speak, I would recommend residing in an end state of having a relationship that the person does treat you nicely, they care for you, they respect you, whatever it is that you want to be true, and go general with it and try to sort of combine that with your self-concept work of saying that you're good enough to be respected, you're good enough to be appreciated, you're good enough to be valued, and all of those things that you want, and then reside in those kinds of places. Oh, and then Sweth says, how to trust that he is loyal to me while I was affirming. So your thoughts create your reality. We know this much. So if you're saying how to trust, I would honestly just say to just stay consistent in the thinking that he is loyal. It's your reality. You're the operant power of your reality. You don't necessarily need to trust that he was loyal. You just need to reside in it consistently in order to make that the outcome that happened, or in order to show your subconscious mind that's the outcome that happened. The way to trust it would be to trust in yourself, essentially, because, like I said, you're the one that creates your reality. Angelan, apologies if I said that wrong, says, "Hey, I'm having trouble finding a desire to stick to. I feel like I'm overwhelming myself with trying to stick to one desire. Any help?" Well, you're having trouble finding a desire to stick to, and you're finding it overwhelming with trying to find one to stick to. Well, what's your sort of calling, I suppose, to say? Like, what is it that kind of gets you excited? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Ask yourself all the cliche interview questions of where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where are you passionate? You know, all of those
I
kind
was
of
going
things.
to say, what do you feel passionate
Yeah, what do you feel
about?
passionate about?
That's one of those very cliche ones.
Because that will help you identify a desire that actually means something to you long enough to stay consistent with. Sit with yourself for a little while and sort of see about that, because a great question as well that you could ask yourself is, if everything was paid for, all of your bills, all of that was paid for, what would you do for free? Like, if you had a hobby or something, what would you do for free all day, every day, or quite consistently? And that might give you something or some idea on where you can go forward. Lewis says, since I'm in constant communication with SP texting and face-to-face interactions, how do I know between what's natural to say and do and not forcing the 3D? So the way that I look at these kind of scenarios is, I would say, what is you stepping out of a natural basis to do? There's one thing to sort of think about a response as in, oh, is this the right thing to say, or am I going to piss them off? And there's another thing to be actively sitting there thinking, if I say this, then they'll say this, and then this will lead to this, and then that will happen with this. That's forcing the 3D. If you're in conversation already, act natural, act nonchalant. Don't put too much outcome dependency on things, and just kind of go with the flow. There's nothing more natural than just going with what's there. If the conversation dies, let it die for a bit and message them in a few days. Don't try to force a conversation through fear or lack or anything like that. Going with the flow is the best way that I can recommend that you text if you're trying not to force the 3D. We did that one with Manifesting Goddess. And she says, why affirmations don't feel natural in starting, and how to get into the state of the wish fulfilled. Getting into the state of the wish fulfilled is as simple as thinking as though you have your desire. The state of the wish fulfilled is understanding what the version of you who has your desire would be thinking, feeling, and acting like, and then consciously thinking, feeling, and acting in that way. Whether you use affirmations or visualizations or any kind of technique like that, it's up to you. But the aim is to think, feel, and act in the same way, and that is you living from the end or in the state of the wish fulfilled. Why natural affirmations don't feel natural at first? Your subconscious mind will have a specific story already in play, whether it's through like an event that happened in front of you, whether it's through your consistent thinking and whatever it is that's kind of shown you this story that you've then allowed to yourself to pass on your subconscious mind. It will have this story already in play. When you start doing affirmations that are the opposite of this story, it doesn't feel natural, because you're claiming to yourself something completely different to what you may have been thinking and claiming to yourself for an extended period of time. So think of it like a car. If a car is driving at like 60 miles an hour and then you try to reverse it, it's not going to just immediately reverse straight away, sort of thing. It's going to still have the element of needing to slow down and brake and then reverse. It's very similar here. You've had this story for so long that you're not all of a sudden just going to be able to go, cool, this new story is completely true and reside in it, because you've had this momentum going forward that maybe you're not good enough, or your person doesn't want you, or whatever is going on for so long that you're not going to be able to stop that car dead in its tracks at 60 miles an hour and then just go the other way. It's going to feel that element of resistance, and this doesn't feel natural. This feels like I'm lying to myself, because in essence, you are. To your mind, it has no idea that current new affirmation to your mind, the new affirmation isn't truth, because it's got something else stored in it, and it has done for so long. So it's going to feel unnatural. But upon continuing in that new affirmation, you're gradually slowing your car down and getting ready to go the opposite way. And it's going to get to a point where it becomes natural because you've been consistent in it for so long. He's still just sat there.
I don't know why he's just there.
It's like the longest that he's ever just sat next to me.
Just staring as well.
Yeah.
That was a great analogy. I liked it.
Thanks.
The first analogy of the live. We've gone quite far into it before
Yeah,
we
we
got
have.
to one.
A says, I'm facing issues with my career. No matter how hard I try, I end up being rejected. And since I have to go to college every day, it's hard to ignore the 3D. Cannot focus on manifestation. So if you can think about your rejection, if you can focus on the 3D, then you can focus on your manifestation. I know it may feel difficult, but the idea of it's hard to ignore the 3D, cannot focus on manifestation. If you can use your focus to go, oh, everything's going wrong because of XYZ thing, you can use that same focus to say, here's what could go potentially right. So I would recommend, if you can, to stop using that excuse because it's not going to benefit you going forward. The second thing, it's going to seem super contradictory, but the idea of doing more isn't always getting more. You say there, no matter how hard I try. So what I recommend doing is trying a little bit less hard, but looking internally at what's going on up here that's stopping you from getting the outcome that you desire to be true. Because you'll find it often, quite a lot, the people that work the hardest are in a big portion of people anyway, if we were to take the majority, the people that work the hardest often have the least because they've got this story in their head that I need to work hard to get. And then the more that they exist within this story, the more they're constantly finding themselves to working hard just to get. So what I recommend doing is sort of slowing it down a little bit if you can, and working internally to see what's actually going on within your subconscious mind and within your mind, so to show you why you seem to have to work so hard and are still not getting the outcomes that you want, because there'll be a story going on up here that's blocking that. If you can find that story and shift it, you're not going to have to work as hard. I now work probably the least hard that I ever have in the grand scheme of sort of actions that I take. I still obviously work hard enough to get the things done that I need to get done, but I no longer do sort of like 10, 12-hour days like I used to when I was sort of running this business and doing my 9 to 5 and stuff like that. And things are better now than they have been. Last month was a bit whatever finances, but this month's been like one of the highest financial months in quite a while. And I'm actually doing the least, but it's all because I've been shifting those stories as opposed to the physical moving matter work on the external. So see why you're having to do all of that work and see what you can do going forward. Oh, it skipped. I'm going to answer a couple more just because getting quite, my sort of throat's getting a bit sore from the constant talking.
And I am also going to disappear now because I'm going to go cook our dinner. But if there is a specific question for me, let me know.
Will do.
But yeah, goodbye, everybody.
Okay, cool. So Blessed Child says, thank you so much for the consideration and giving me an absolute answer. You're very welcome. Happy to help. Kerry says, what's your band name? So at the moment, we don't have a band name. And the reason for that is because the band says that once we get all the EP together, then the name is just going to flow. They expect it to just flow. At the moment, they are toying with the name Belaya. Whether or not that sticks, I don't know. It's also one of the names of one of the songs. So I think it may stick, maybe. But that's the current sort of like name. But like I said, the way that I can describe the band is they're just very metaphorical and symbolic. A lot of the lyrics are very symbolic and metaphorical, and the way that they go about it, as in like, oh, the name will just flow to us. Yeah, it's the best way that I can answer that. But yeah, it might be Belay, it might be something completely different. Who knows? Katie Johnson says, I manifested my SP back from a distance. They keep trying to return to me, but have worsened the ego. I believe maybe from social trauma while they were away. Can you manifest healing in another? Absolutely. If you can think of it being the case, you can have it being the case. So if you want to heal trauma, try to view them as already healed. Try to view them as treating you the way that you want them to treat you, or acting as the version of them you wish them to be. And that will be enough, because where your focus goes, energy flows, and that will create it for you. Going to answer these next one, and then I'm going to pick a couple at random. So Manifesting Goddess says, last, I promise, if I affirm for SP he is proposing and visualize rejecting him, will he propose or not? And if I'm thinking about another person, will my thoughts repeat? Will he know? Just curious, please don't judge me. So you're saying if I affirm for SP to propose and then visualize rejecting him, will he propose or not? Well, probably, because if your visualization is that of you rejecting him, then it's likely that he will still propose in order for you to reject him, if I'm sort of understanding what you want there properly. And if you are thinking about another person, will my thoughts reach my SP? If you're thinking about another person, more than likely not, because it's not incorporating the person that you're mentioning. It's not incorporating SP. Hopefully I answered those the way that you wanted me to. Going to pick two more at random then. Bristy says, if I tell myself I know this is going to happen today or another day, but it is definitely going to happen, am I on the right state while manifesting my SP? It's definitely a more positive state than if you were to spiral. Now, the reason why I say that is because your subconscious mind works in the present moment. So if you're saying it's going to happen today or another day, you're not necessarily saying that it's happening right now. Now, that it's going to happen today is an interesting one because you're stating, this is when it's going to happen. But you're not necessarily stating that you're in that position now. You're stating that it's like some point in the future is going to arise. So I would say that it'd be more beneficial for you to reside in the fact of it already being done. But I definitely think that what you're saying there is better than if you were to say, oh my God, it's never happening, because you're at least sort of staying confident in the idea that it will happen. But I would recommend, if you can, go to the end result of it already being done. And then final one, Angel says, does SP manifestation suddenly show up in reality and then goes away on every day, or it comes in breadcrumbs? Oh, then it goes on every day, sorry, or it comes in breadcrumbs. It depends. Everyone's journey is different. For me, I manifested Katie and it was nothing, and then all of a sudden back together. I've had other people that I've worked with that have had it where they've been manifesting and getting breadcrumbs along the way. They'll get like text, or they'll get signs and stuff like that for a little while, and then they'll get people coming in. So every journey is different. I definitely wouldn't say that if you're receiving no movement, then you're failing. And I definitely wouldn't say that you need to receive movement or evidence to suggest that you're doing the right thing. I would say that if you're doing the right work, regardless of what's showing up in front of you, it will come. Whether it's out of nowhere or whether it's breadcrumbs, it will come. Yeah, hopefully that answers your questions. Thank you very much, everyone, for showing up to today's video. If you do want more from me, obviously I do have the membership where there's more exclusive videos, including the full Manifest Your X-Back guide, which is an hour and 40 minutes of just pure information on how you can manifest your specific person back. So I highly recommend you join the membership and checking that out. The ebook should hopefully be on the membership very soon, actually, as well. It's something that I'm looking forward to getting done. If you do need any more one-to-one work with me, or if you do need any one-to-one work with me, please check out the website, see what I have available. I think there was something else I was going to say, but I can't remember what it was. If any of you are interested in sort of hearing some of the music stuff, I don't have any of my band's music out because I don't want to post it without obviously us all agreeing. But I do have a music TikTok, which is literally just Matt Horror 97, where I've done a couple of clips from other like bands like Motionless in White and Falling in Reverse and stuff. So I recommend you go checking that out if you're interested. But yeah, I think that was all I was going to say. Thank you very much for showing up to today's live stream, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.